call to order. Gavel, gavel. And we've got some agenda items on here today where we're talking about money and other important stuff and the state of things. And so go ahead and get started. We'll start first of all with the review of the minutes from last meeting. And don't know if everybody has had a chance to look at those, but give you just a minute and then ask if there are any questions or comments or corrections. David, this would be the point where Tony would always say, you misspelled my name. Could you please change the spelling of Satilli?
Well, we'll see how Sean,
that
we'll see
came
how
out
Sean comes out
sometimes,
next
right?
month.
So we will get your, we'll get Sean. That sounds like that would be easier than Satilli, just off the face of it.
Yeah.
Right, so. Any questions or comments on the minutes from our last meeting? So we do have a motion from Sean Hanlon for approval as is. Is there a second?
Second.
From Mr. Iverson, a second. Should we do a roll call vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mike,
Yes. Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
David,
Approved.
and you.
Yes.
All right. So the next piece that we would go through is the financial review. So in the packets, we have March, April, and May. I'm going to spend time on May, but if there are questions on either of the other 2 months, please let me know. But and we can certainly refer back to those. But in our current one on May the 30th, and did you need a hard copy packet or?
I've got it digitally.
I'll take
You
a
got,
hard copy.
okay.
Do you have a hard copy of that, Mike?
I didn't
Don't worry
bring
about
an
it. It's
extra,
okay.
but
I
you
know
can
about-
have
We
mine.
can share a
I'm
laptop.
I know
good.
it by heart.
You know about heart?
Oh.
Okay, well, we'll see. We'll quiz you as we go along. So we'll start first with the financial summary for May, which the current fund balance for May sits at $1,399,392.28 in the general fund balance. In a capital improvement fund balance, that sits at $205,504.86. And the convention center debt fund balance is at $345,021.29. We do have claims that are before us today for each of these funds. Some coming out of the capital improvement fund, some coming out of the debt center fund, and some coming out of our general expense fund. And then that general fund balance, just for those that are new or for clarification, we do disperse funds out of that general fund for operating expenses, for Visit Bloomington, for Marcia's services as secretary for this body will also come out of that general fund. And then DBI for operation of the convention center comes out of that general fund as well. The debt on the debt payment certainly comes out of the debt fund, go figure. And then we do have one claim in the capital improvement fund today. So that's where our general funds sit. Moving to the tax receipts, we have a historical record here that shows from 2016 to 2022, and you could see the pace of tax collection for January, February, March, April, May, and 2022, which May of 22 was the highest collection in that month we've ever collected. How about that? Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And that is typically those tax collections come from receipts, revenue receipts in the month preceding that. So tax receipt collections in May are generally attributed to April business. And I think every operator that I've talked to, it has been a very good May as well too. And I don't know about you, but I don't have any fingertips left from June, because June has been a busy month, at least in my world. And so we've been running a little crazy. I have 4,000 high school thespians running around on campus and through my building this week. So I hear a lot of singing and a lot of drama that's going on. So it's fun to see that activity return. And we anticipate that through the rest of this year. And so as we're looking at forecasting, and of course, forecasts could change, but we are on pace to do better than we did in 2019, which to that date was our highest collection year ever. And we are outpacing that in 2022 pre-pandemic. So you hate to say everything is fully recovered, but tax collections are pacing ahead of our best year ever. So without making a broad statement of everything is recovered, we're doing very well. And the forecast looks very good for the rest of the year. So based on what's on the books and what's coming in. So any questions on the financial statements for either March, April, May, or about tax receipts? One thing to note about tax receipts, the tax receipts from short-term rentals collected through sites like Airbnb and Monroe and are at the highest level they've ever been as well too. And that is in this number and is one reason for the dramatic change. So questions, comments? Yeah, gosh, I love talking in 2022 rather than in 2020, because I remember May of 2020, this was a far different conversation this group had. So it's fun to be on this end of it and to talk about what the possibilities are. So
It seems like the university is the driver though, right? When we take a look at the track and field event, this event, the university is, because the convention center is not pacing yet to previous year numbers, but.
right.
Okay.
Right. So leisure travel has long been a driver in this market and was a large reason why 2022 or 2021 recovered as quick as it did. So leisure traveler, vacation traveler, and certainly the university's calendar being more open has certainly helped drive events and business into this community. So no doubt, it's not the only driver, but it's certainly a very important one.
Sure.
So in 2019, total room tax receipts exceeded $2.8 million.
Mhm.
Do you expect that we'll exceed that, or we'll meet that, or what is your forecast there?
So I do have that, and the forecast on that would be 2.985 is where I think we will wind up. So it will be a 5% increase. We're on pace at 6.7% ahead right now. And I think conservatively, as we look through it, I think we're at least a 5% increase over what that is. So I do think that would be roughly around, it's almost $100,000 better than what it was in 2019. So in collections, and if you do the math on that versus business, it's a 5% tax, and that equates to couple $1 million
Excellent.
ahead. So, so that being the case, it is encouraging, and with not everything back and the convention center, there's always a ramp up period, right? But we're recovering there. I really think we're in good shape moving forward financially and business demand wise. So good questions. Any other thoughts, questions, Mike?
I can either say what I was gonna say now or wait till my report ahead of time. I just, for David's comment about track and field as well, aquatics, that we had a big swimming event in the spring as well. Youth sports have really had a huge impact all through the, they were the first to come back from the pandemic, as well as outdoor recreation, which continues to just explode.
Right.
We've got some new smartphone tracking software, and I'm just getting the hang of using it. But I really didn't realize that the Hoosier National Forest is by far the most visited attraction in Monroe County, arguably the state of Indiana. I mean, unreal. I don't know if you saw the article this week about overuse and worry about some campsites and closing and things like that. So we've been putting the message out about responsible pack it in, pack it out stuff with our markets.
Yeah,
So
and it,
continue to do
the
that.
leisure travel has just been, it was the first to recover during the pandemic, and I think people have embraced travel, and outdoor recreation sites are certainly a driver. So, which is good for the boats, right? And on the lake and
COVID what?
COVID what, right?
I think down at that marina, during the summertime, indicated there was anything going wrong in this country.
Yeah, probably not, right?
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
it was, everybody
If
was out
anything,
on the lake, right?
It was an opposite effect, right? You go to a boat dealership and try to find a boat to buy. You
Right.
can't. There's a 200 name waiting list for a slip at the marina right now. We have 1,000 slips,
Wow, that's a lot.
almost 1,000 slips.
Yeah.
So,
And even
Alright.
even the high gas prices, and no one likes that. We don't like that and all that stuff. But honestly, we do probably benefit from that because of the nearcation thing.
right.
People just driving down
Right.
here from Indy and Chicago, they can
Yep.
do it. It's affordable. So
Yeah.
we of course want those to go down, but we've always been, we're a rubber tire market. So.
Right. No question.
So we don't want to steal too much of your thunder, right? But it is looking like a very encouraging financial report. So Peter just jumped out. I don't know if we want to go ahead and move to vote or motion, or we want to hold on that a minute. Is there other questions about the collection or the financial statements?
So you need a motion to approve the financial statement?
Yes, a motion to move to a vote. So it's, yes, a motion for approval.
Sure, I motion to move for a vote to approve the financial report.
Okay, and is there a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. We do a roll call vote, Marcia?
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Sean Hanlon,
Yes.
David Shaw,
Yes.
Peter Iverson.
Yes.
So as Mike got rolling a little bit, telling us about the Visit Bloomington report, we're going to let him keep on rolling. And charge graphs, great
I don't have
details.
I'm going to talk through.
You're going to pantomime some stuff.
This is not budget yet, right?
No, not budget yet.
Okay.
That's correct.
First thing I want to do is thank all of you and thank our partners who continue to do amazing stuff, understaffed and undersupplied, and just in all the numbers that we're talking about. So amazing work that they're doing. David and I were talking about a little bit. Restaurants are still operating at odd hours and things like that, and I know they're understaffed. And I've got board member hoteliers that are making beds and cleaning rooms and working the front desk. I know you all are too. So again, wouldn't be here without that happening. So we appreciate that very much.
No
So
fingertips.
Right.
Right.
So we don't take it for granted, and we appreciate that. But convention wise, same goes for my staff at Visit Bloomington, just remarkable work that they do. Convention wise, couldn't be more pleased with where we are with conferences and trying to bring groups in. Our sales manager, Sean Ballard, has been with us now for, he came on in the fall, doing a remarkable job. He's created 24 leads for new business this year so far. We know, and it's not even July. We normally do 30 in a regular year. Obviously, last year at this point we've done 11 in that down year. But again, very excited about the future. Tons of interest in our area as a group meeting destination as always. I'm not going to go get into this too much. We have lost out on. We're tracking it. We received 10 RFPs for groups that were just too big, the space we couldn't hold. And again, we don't spend our time pursuing those groups, so that could be much larger. But upcoming sales activities include, he'll be at the ISAE annual convention in Indianapolis coming up. We're attending Connect Specialty in Detroit, Professional Fraternity Association in Kalamazoo, small market meetings in Wichita, and MPI Great Lakes in Lake Geneva. Those are all trade shows that we'll be at yet this year. And again, he usually has 20 to 25 appointments at each one of those. He comes back with, he could come back, we could call him leads, he could come back with 20 leads at each one of those, but we're very particular that we need to know we can actually do it. So he'll come back with 3 or 4 quality leads that we'll have a good chance to land. So very excited about that, and continue to have him get more experience and work with us. So as far as leisure is concerned, again, things are going well, very, very well. Our digital traffic is up 41% over 21. It's up 20% over 2019. And of course, we spend a lot of time on that website and building that database and working with and all of our social media stuff. Another driver, David, the impact of, it's nice to feel the impact of orientation in the market again. We're seeing those students and parents out. We've had a booth over there in the Wells Library, and we've been talking to parents every day, telling them what to do when they come back. They're asking us about where should they stay and making reservations. And we're always like, you better be booking graduation reservations and things far in advance, things like that. So again, it's nice to have that in person going again. Our summer marketing is ongoing. Again, it's a reason for that traffic that's going on. I don't know if any of you, it's nice sometimes that we are in the Indianapolis marketing area because we advertise on the radio there, so we can hear our radio spots here in Bloomington sometimes. So it's nice to know they're actually playing them, and we're getting all kinds of comments about that and other things that we're doing. June is Limestone Month, and we'll back up a second again, and I do want to call out Erin White in my office, who she's our leisure marketing director and travel media manager, particularly for the travel media efforts that she's been done. I don't know, I sent you all the article that ran in USA Today yesterday. She's responsible for making that happen. If you go to our website and we have a media page and click on that, it'll show you all the articles we've generated this year. Just some great stuff. And seriously, there's nobody better in the state of what she does.
Good.
So, and that goes as well for our content creation. Alyssa Davis, Brittany Olson do an amazing job there. But so we've got, this is Limestone Month. We've got several things that we're doing to promote our limestone heritage. Next Tuesday or Wednesday, I can't remember, we're doing a tour of the Empire Quarry, which is sold, the tour is sold out. The only reason we sell tickets to it is because just to pay for the bus. We have to, it's very restricted. They have to come to the visitor center, get on the bus, we take them to the tour, and they bring them back. So that's, we just take the revenue that we get from those ticket sales and pay for the bus. That's sold out well in advance, as it always does. We're getting ready to launch a golden ticket promotion, which you'll see that very soon. We're giving away 5 trips to Bloomington. We'll be sending out golden tickets and people who request a visitor guide during the month of July, 5 of them. And if you open it up and have one, you win a free trip to Bloomington. So we expect a huge response to that. Another thing that we're very excited about is we're about to launch actually early next week a name, image, likeness program with 7 IU athletes, maybe 9. We're waiting on 2 more. You talk about herding cats. I mean, it's to get these athletes on board and know what to do. But 7 of them starting next week will be posting about things they're doing and things they love to do in Bloomington during the summer while they're training, getting ready for next season.
That's awesome.
And it's I got to tell you, very proud of this effort as well. That's what that program was meant for, is what we're doing with it.
Right.
I mean, we're paying each of these athletes $1,500. It's not about, you know, millions of dollars to get them to come and play quarterback or something like that you're reading about with that program. So the first one you'll see is going to be Anthony Leal, local basketball player from Bloomington. Will be posting from his hammock on campus. And that's going to be really cool. So again, we've got a mixture of all sports, men and women. We're really looking forward to seeing what happens with that.
Sounds
That'll
fun.
work out. And of course, we're finalizing fall and winter plans and beyond as well, because of course we're working on that stuff. Sports, very quickly, again, big impact from aquatics and track and field. We've got soccer, golf, and softball upcoming yet this summer. Pete is out there as well. He's generated 12 leads for new business opportunities in the future. He'll be at Connect Sports in Detroit, the sports conference in Savannah, USA Softball in Shreveport, and US Sports Congress in Richmond yet coming up this year.
That's terrific.
That's it.
How active. Oh, man, I love hearing that.
Yeah.
For sure.
And there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff out there from
Oh,
Marcia
yeah.
and Laura Newton and everyone, and Teal Strabbing just does an amazing job with our services. I mean, we provided catering every day for all those coaches and athletes at that NCAA track and field. Feeding 2,000 people every single day for 8 days is no small task. Things like that. So,
There
and
you
it's
go.
expensive.
Awesome. Awesome. Any questions for Mike?
Maybe not just for him, but whoever. Can somebody refresh my memory again on how much square footage of meeting space we have in our convention center?
22,000 square feet.
22,000.
One question I had for you, Mike, was you had mentioned losing 10 events due to size. Is there a number you have on economic impact loss as a result of that?
I can have that for you this afternoon. I don't
That
have
would
it
be
off the top of my
great.
head. I actually have all that stuff logged and in a report that I can just waiting for the right time to share. I actually have sent that information to interested parties that I'm trying to motivate.
Well, this is an interested
I
party.
know.
Yeah.
And so I think for us, as we're looking at tax allocation dollars and how we continue to grow that and grow tourism and the economic benefits that brings here in Monroe County, it would be great to know the impact of the loss just due to size. And maybe not just those 10 that you're talking about, but if you have a larger pool that
Oh, yeah.
you indicate that you have, it would be great to have that as well.
I'll run a lost business report for you and email it to you.
That would be great. And just to see what that number is, I would love to not know just what the number is for the group, but what the economic impact that group would bring. We talked about, new student orientation and parents going all over this town, but during the week of that NCAA track and field, man, there were herds of people running all over this town and eating in restaurants and going here and there. And
You know what else is interesting
So-
too is that smartphone software that I'm talking about. I
right,
can run a report that shows the
Where they
top-
went.
Where they went.
Yeah.
And I've sent that to several restaurateurs and said, look,
yeah,
yeah, this is where they were.
right.
Things like that.
So, yeah, that's great. Thank you for doing that. And I look forward to seeing that info. So, any other questions for Mike? All right, guess who's up next?
Okay.
Alicia, talk to us
All right.
about the Convention Center and DVI report.
Okay, well, first of all, I'd like to recognize Ralph Zazullo. He's our photographer that's featured this summer, and this is one of his first exhibits that he's doing, and so he was super excited. Photographs from all over the country. And we're part of Gallery Walk, which now there are
Mhm.
14 entities that are part of that, with IU Arts and Humanities helping with the Cook Center right
Yeah.
outside Sample Gates. So between the Far Gallery and to Sample Gates, there's a mile of art. And so we've really started promoting that. And we have a new gallery downtown called Clash, which is really kind of a notch up as well. So that's a whole cluster that's developing and been very strong. And it kept going during the pandemic also, just because those artists, that's how they make their money.
So I was actually in the McCullough Gallery yesterday.
uh-huh.
And so I don't know if they're part of the walk, but that may be one to,
Where's the
maybe
McCullough Gallery? Is
it's
it?
the new one on 10th and which one is it? Dunn or Indiana?
Corner
Between
of
Dunn
10th
and
Dunn.
Indiana.
Oh, yeah, the McCullough School.
Yes.
Yes,
So we
Yeah.
have several gallery exhibits there.
there, well, that would be a good one to add, because,
Yeah.
we're stretching it down through that
Mhm.
area now. And, just tying in with what Mike said in sports, we had events, they weren't necessarily the sporting aspect of it, but they were like the backup. USA Gymnastics had a 500-person banquet and awards ceremony. The step above, they're going to be here in a couple of weeks. They are bringing an alumni back. They've been a dance studio here in town. And so I think they've got 150 people that are coming back, and they'll have their workshops here, and then they'll go to Buskirk Chumley and perform, and the alumni are going to have a dance as well. So
Great.
sports is very important and good, solid business. So I will say, with convention center business, bringing groups in, because you've got to bring your group here.
Right.
The bookings are starting to hold more steady. For the last 3 years, we've been juggling people moving things around. The Gas Association, when they were here, had been booked 4 times. And for whatever different reasons each group has, are there attendees going to come? What's the budget now? What is the connection with the hotels and the different activities time of year? So it's been a kind of a juggling act. And so we're finally seeing those stabilize. So that's pretty exciting.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's very, because there's a lot of time that goes into canceling and rescheduling and
Right.
moving. But we've held our staff together. They've got kind of the same contact they had 3 years ago. They've got the information on their conference, so we can share with them. This is what you had for dinner at 5 o'clock, and what your snack was at 2 o'clock. And so meeting planners really appreciate that. We are seeing some new business though, so I'm encouraged by that with new entities that had not been here before. I'd say we're probably at like 75-80% right now. The fall, we're back up to 90%, 100. And so we're excited about that as well, because I think it gives our other vendors some stability and some hope for the future as
Right.
well. And like our AV team and our catering team, we contract out with those services. And so they've been able to hold it together and are looking forward to the fall as well. I will say some of the interesting events coming up today and tomorrow. We've got 125 people from the Association of Indiana Counties. It's the county council division of this. So it's 125 people who are on county councils around the state.
Wow.
And so I just saw a group of them leave for lunch a little bit ago, and then they'll be back. And Christina Box is here at 1 o'clock giving a presentation. Somebody from the State Board of Accounts, the Lieutenant Governor will be here tomorrow to speak with them. But all the things that county councils have to think about. So we're hoping our county council
There'll be a
members
lot
are here.
of us here tonight, tomorrow, and AIC generally does not come to Bloomington. So this is fantastic that they're here.
Yeah, and it's, you know, the size that AIC is a huge organization and we just don't fit. I think they were here one time, like the first 5 or 6 years we were open
We
and
use
used
this
kind of the
we
whole,
use both.
yeah,
We
and
use
did
both
bus
facilities.
shuttles
Right.
and did moved
Right.
around. But, you know, in the end, it's convenience for those groups and can they walk? Can they get in? Can they meet in a place? So this is a small division of what AIC is, but you know, the treasurers have been here, the auditors have been here, they, you know, little, like the groups, that we're happy to have them, so that's exciting. And then Secretly Distribution is a Secretly Canadian recording folks are bringing a bunch of their recording artists in August. Alliance of Indiana Rural Water, State Bar Association, Applied Cybersecurity Research, Medical Library Association, Community Mental Health Centers, and my favorite, the Crisis Negotiators are going to be here. So we want to like find out
That's
what
right.
tips
Yeah.
they have, and they've
That's
booked for
right.
next year also.
Good.
So I'm anxious to see like what's that about. But and then so that's 8 conferences, but kind of back to that economic impact, these groups are 150 people, 175 people, 200, 100 people for 3 days. That's the size of group that fits in this space. And so it's all a function of space and hotel availability and community promotion. And it's a big puzzle, and all of those have to fit together to make a welcoming experience. But people love coming to Bloomington. We hear it all the time, and Monroe County. And they've got connections with IU alumni. And so that's our strength. We've got a very unique community
Right.
that people enjoy. And I think we're very progressive. A lot of the conventions that come have progressive topics. I think, you know, we are seeing some increased bandwidth with the conferences that are coming. So we added some CAD 6 and upstairs. We're going to be adding that
Good.
downstairs and increasing that bandwidth. So we're preparing for those conferences this fall. Make Vention will be here, and Indiana Comic Show, Boogie's Festival, it's a piano festival, is going to be here. So it's a fall is definitely very, very strong. And our leases to the south go to 2023. A few of them are 2022, but they're interested in renewing.
Okay.
So we're solid there with that revenue as well.
Good. It was a great
Thank
report.
you all. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a different tone than it was a couple of years ago. Huh?
Yes, oh my goodness, and
Like,
even
oh my
last year,
gosh.
right? So love hearing that,
Yeah.
excitement. And you know, in my own head, I'm sitting there thinking, Association of Indiana Counties, I do remember that group. And that was a big group and a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
wonder what they've grown to at this point as far as size wise.
It was over 600 people.
It was
Right.
back then,
Right.
so
It was 10 years
maybe
ago.
more than that. So
Yeah.
um,
And I will
obviously,
just jump in.
just
like,
facility constrained.
right,
yeah.
yeah, and we have 2023 confirmed bookings as well. I mean, people are anxious to get back at
Oh,
it. They're
yes.
getting so over the hybrid and the Zoom
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah, they're
and
ready to be in person.
yes. Yeah.
Mhm. We're seeing that too.
Mhm.
So. They don't want hybrid, but they want the technology in the room while they're here. That's what I'm saying. They want the technology they had as hybrid
Right, yeah,
here while they're here.
Yeah.
So.
and they have 8
that's what I
devices
see.
that they're trying to
Yes.
keep going, and somebody's
Yes.
watching
Yeah,
YouTube while they're. supposed
That's
to be
right,
paying
that's
attention.
yeah. Sending this and that, yes. So great report. Any questions or comments for Talisha?
I will say the other AIC trainings that I've been to are, usually downtown Indianapolis, and parking is just, you don't know where to park and it's expensive. And here you can be right here.
And that I have the parking lot's a strong draw from here because they don't want confusion with their groups. They want to know exactly where am I going
Right.
to park, where am I going to stay, how am I going to walk in, how am I going to bring my carts in, how I'm going to deliver, where my delivery's going to. So all of that they want to know up front before they go on.
So someone
And
new,
bus parking and boat parking, boat trailers. That's been a big thing the last week. So
So someone new to Bloomington as myself, the parking lot across the street is not available for the convention center, right? That all said permit parking, right? This is my first time here, so I
Oh,
was looking for
We
parking.
use that for
So-
overflow
Oh,
parking.
we can,
Yeah.
okay. And then so there's
Yeah.
parking here and then all of our parking is behind?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of that was acquired because interest rates in the beginning were so high, we were able to refinance. We went to a lower interest rate. We were able to get that lot in the back
Okay.
for Monroe County.
Yeah.
It's been a
It's
good
well signed.
investment.
So I mean, that was easy, able to find it, but I just,
Oh,
yeah.
good.
So
yeah.
parking is not a concern from your aspect for the
It's-
convention center.
Well, currently, it's very strong. It's
Okay.
wonderful. Yeah. And it's been a selling point.
Okay. The only other question I would ask is, for this committee, is the financial statement of both revenues and expenses for the convention center something that gets included in our portfolio of documents sometime during the year? Is it something this committee needs to review, would want to review? Does it?
So I do think as we're talking about budget, and I will say the way the money is and the reporting lines are set up for a convention center are very convoluted in Bloomington.
Okay.
And part of it is state board of accounts.
Right.
Like the money generated at this building belongs to Monroe County and gets turned
Right.
over. So part of it is that reasoning.
Yeah. So it is, I'll tell you, this lady has a terribly hard job to try to figure out where her reporting line is,
Okay.
because she's
Right.
got
Right.
DBI,
And Jones.
this
Yeah.
body, the county, Monroe County Building Corporation, and is there another one too? Did I leave one out?
Um,
Because it's like
That's
6 or
fine.
7
Yeah, that's
or,
fine, yeah.
We'll just stop there.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
because it is one to where would certainly benefit from some consolidation and clarity, and whether that be a capital improvement board or some other body that this would directly.
And we can provide you with our audit.
Yeah.
We have an
Okay.
audit every year for
Right.
just the convention center, or it's a review.
Right.
So we have a report. I can do that.
So we provide a portion of the funds that support this. We provide the payment on the debt fund, and some of the land that Talisha had mentioned had been purchased by this group.
Okay.
And that's one of the pieces that is in that.
And we certainly don't want to be another thorn in her side.
No, but it's good to see
However-
the whole picture. You're
Right,
absolutely right.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And just to give you an idea, our budget does go to Monroe County. It's $574,000 that funds that we turn over to them and it's budgeted on. And then this budget that goes through the Convention of Visitors Commission was $347,000 in 2022. So it's about an $900,000 budget.
All right.
Also, how far out are we confirming or booking right now?
Well, that's, we've got 2023 booked pretty strongly. And so we're having requests for 2024, 2025.
Yeah.
One thing that's kind of served us pretty well in this time frame over, we're just continuing to operate until something else happens, is that if it's an overnight group, we'll go ahead and book it. We'll get it signed. If it's a local group, we'll kind of wait till a year out. And then, but we've also got regular annual events also. And so, constantly balancing that calendar, as you know, as everybody knows, balancing the calendar is a challenge. But I think we've done pretty well with that. We've got good, solid, clients that we've gotten to know their event and how we can work with them and how things can adjust a bit. But
Most hotels set their rates a year out, and a customer can book in our computer systems up to 52 weeks out.
uh-huh.
Do you have a good do you feel Bloomington, we have a great rapport between the hoteliers, so that if you need to come to me and say, Dave, what kind of rate could you do in 2027 for this week? Because there are groups that will go and say,
Right.
I need a rate firmed up for 2026.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
do those things
And,
happen?
you know, most of the associations that we work with are Indiana associations.
Oh, so, okay.
And
Not quite as far out there.
27's going to be way far out.
Okay.
I mean, I think they're looking at 24 at this point. We do have one group who, you know, has been booked for maybe 3 or 4 years, and they have an annual meeting to, you know, do some more with their conference, but
Sure.
most of them are a couple
Okay.
of years out because of the size
Yeah,
that they are and the
yeah.
driving. Once you start
Understood.
flying and once you start doing all
Right.
those other things, you
Right.
have to do it a little bit farther out.
Really, Dave, it depends on whether the IU sports calendar has been released or not.
Right,
'Cause they're not gonna
exactly.
book it if there's a chance it could be a football game or
Right.
during that time frame.
Well, the goal
Yeah.
would be that IU would not be the major player, and this 1,000,000 square foot convention center someday might
Yeah.
be.
And
It's
it's
a draw.
not,
The
yeah,
hotel
it's
rooms.
not gonna be 1,000,000 square feet. I mean,
No?
it's, no.
It could never be a million.
No, I mean, I think we're at groups of 200, we're probably like jumping
like
up
the way
to
he thinks that.
500.
What?
Yeah.
Come on, guys. I mean,
Yeah.
Bloomington, we're the center of the state that's in the center of the United States. Ooh, I think I
Right,
just came up with
exactly. Yeah, then the center,
line
right?
there.
The center of it all.
You're gonna
Yeah.
have to write that down because I'm
Right.
Yeah.
pretty
The
sure.
center
I got
of the
lost
state,
there
that's the
somewhere
center
in
of
the
the
center.
Yeah.
But I mean, the events are as interesting and they're as varied and they're fun and, you know, you want to be
Yeah.
able to take care of them in all aspects of your community. You want to bring groups in that fit in your community, maybe
Right.
stretch it just a little bit, but you know, the meeting planner kind of decides all that stuff, but like every
Yeah.
piece of it needs to kind of fit together.
Is there an annual occupancy of the convention center that you have? Like the convention center was 60% occupancy last year. It was 80% occupancy in 2019. It was, do you,
Well, we could do it by occupancy or we could do it by revenue. You know, and I've got a number of events. It's about 560 events a year. And during the pandemic, we were at, what was it, like 370 events because we were a vaccine clinic and we were a blood
Wow.
drive and we were essential business. So that occupancy by number of people,
Okay.
sometimes it always doesn't translate to revenue.
right, right. And maybe I was leaning more towards just the occupancy of the space itself.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, how many days of the year are you going? Because again, I'm new to Bloomington, I'm new
Yeah.
to the commission, and forgive me if I ask a question that maybe need to be deferred to a later time. Just let me know.
Yeah,
We can.
and yeah, I'd be happy
But,
to sit down, but you know, holidays, people aren't gonna book, so you can knock those out. The oddly enough, Mondays and Fridays are not big event
Right,
days.
right, yeah.
And then
Always
you
Tuesday,
get
Wednesday.
into like the weekends, so you can kind of do the math on, and we've got 8 rooms, so then you have to like get into the occupancy of each one of those.
So we
I
do
think,
have some history on that, which we'd be happy to share and bring you up. And most of that would be pre-pandemic. It would be to give you an expectation of what it will likely return to.
Right.
and we've
um,
had full studies done
Yeah.
over, and I kind of want to say 65%, which is really strong for
Yeah.
like a convention center.
Hmm.
So we're a very small facility, very high
Yeah.
occupied is what I remember from the 2012 study, you know,
right.
that,
Yeah.
so I can share that with you and it'll help answer all of that, actually.
Yeah, just gives me a baseline on what our goals as a committee are.
Yeah, absolutely.
exactly.
That's good.
It's my understanding that we're looking to evaluate whether this convention is at the point where it's at a capacity that it would need to grow, correct?
Well, I think
Yes,
we're-
we've evaluated
yeah, I
that
think we're a
very
little past
intently.
that.
Yes, we have.
We're
Yeah.
to that step of like, we need to.
We
do
need to
something.
grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
We
And
need
so
to do
what should
something.
the growth look like?
okay,
As far as location and size and things of that nature and how it's structured. So I think the need has been articulated
Okay.
and there have been some studies done. The
Okay.
2012 was not the last study done. But there are certainly some of those and we can share that data.
Yeah. Okay.
There's also
Yeah,
a
it's good
mix
stuff.
of local and conventions as well too, as to what's what. Because those weigh into it as well. too. So that's great. Any other questions? All right, awesome to hear. Okay. Well, who else would like to spend some money
Ooh,
or get some
Ooh.
money?
We're still
Yeah.
in savings mode.
Yeah, okay, all right.
how about we invest it?
Let's
There you
reinvest,
go.
we'll use that
I don't know,
term.
not in the
I
stock
like that,
market
Peter.
today.
Let's do
Yeah.
invest.
Yeah, locally, right, right.
So we do have some claims before us today for the commission for approval. So we'll run through those today. I'll talk a little bit about each one. And then the commissioners will sign and be passed to each of you to sign, right? Yep. And I looked to, you'll see me looking to Marcia several times here to make sure I get these things right. Because I have from time to time missed it. Okay, so the first one is, speaking of Marcia, there is a claim before us for $147.50 for second quarter professional fees from Marcia Roach for her secretarial services to this body. Are there any questions or comments on this claim?
Money well spent. I move for approval.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Marcia, would you do a roll call vote for us on that?
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Sean Hanlon,
Yes.
David Shaw,
Yes.
Peter Iverson.
Yes.
So I'm sorry, do we have to approve her paycheck each meeting?
It's a
It's
claim.
quarterly claim.
Really?
It's not a paycheck.
I got you,
She's
I
an
got you. Sorry,
independent
sorry.
contractor.
Very good.
So just sign right above my signature at the top.
In the middle of the.
Yeah, you see it right there? There you go. Awesome. And then pass that to Sean. If you need to. All right, next one is third quarter operating funds to visit Bloomington or the Convention and Visitors Bureau for $426,244.75. These are for their normal operating funds. This will come out of the general fund. Questions or comments on this claim? Seeing and hearing none, is there a motion to approve the claim?
Motion for approval?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Marcia, would you do a roll call for us?
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Sean Hanlon,
Yes.
David Shaw,
Yes.
Peter Iverson.
Yes.
And this is their only funding for the quarter?
Correct.
Unless you want to get some more.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
We cannot. by the way.
that's him. And there's the mayor here too, right?
Yeah.
You would go to the, right? I'm just kidding.
just me.
Just Peter.
Yeah, there's
Just
nobody
Peter.
else in the county council. just me.
That's right. All right. Let's see. I'm just gonna do this. The next one is for quarterly services for convention services for Downtown Bloomington, Inc. That is for $86,802 for the quarter. This is not their only funds, but this is their only funds from us for operating expenses. Any questions or comments on the claim? Seeing and hearing none, is there a motion to approve the claim?
I move for approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion in a second. Marcia, would you do a roll call for us, please?
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Sean Hanlon,
Yes.
David Shaw,
Yes.
Peter Iverson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Can I ask another question?
You sure can.
You have to forgive me, guys. I just moved here from Washington, DC. So does the city of Bloomington not wish to have a representative?
So this is a county appointed body.
Right,
And so it's tax collections within the county.
okay,
As far as the city falls within the county,
right.
right? And so appointments are from both the county commission and the county council to this.
None of the
body
tax revenue goes to the city of Bloomington. It only
For,
resides in the
for the
county.
innkeeper's tax,
For the
that's
innkeeper.
correct.
Okay,
Yeah, the food and beverage tax is done a little different.
okay. In DC, we had it go to both entities. That's why.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep,
All right.
everything's a different roadmap, right?
Yes, sir. It's all good.
So listen, I do both have city.
Yeah.
People on our boards.
Yes.
on our
Okay.
individual boards.
Sure.
We work with the city closely.
Right.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, speaking of big dollar amounts, this is the quarterly loan payment to Regions Bank for the convention center debt. So it come out of the debt funds, and it's the quarterly payment in the amount of $159,000. Any questions or comments on this claim?
I'll just add for David's benefit that
Mhm.
these were the funds used to purchase the land that's surrounding, and so it's
Okay.
taken,
And we've already purchased
Years.
those.
yeah, and it, and you know, assembling land in the downtown area takes
Sure.
a long time.
Of course.
And so, you know, getting ready for this expansion has been 25 years
Oh,
of
yeah, it's-
accumulating land
Right.
Right.
around this area.
And they also renovated in here as well with that debt. So last time we did a renovation. So
I can't make a joke while we're on there. Does the word,
Yeah, just
eminent-
right.
does the word eminent domain ever come up in the city of Bloomington or?
oh,
Monroe
yes, it
County?
does.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah, it
Just-
does.
Just wanted to say, you know, if I need that lot over there, no, I'm just.
Yeah,
Okay.
but sometimes doesn't go well.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, of
remember one
course.
recently. So anyway, loan payments. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the claim for the debt?
I move for approval.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Marcia, would you do a roll call vote for us?
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Sean Hanlon,
Yes.
David Shaw,
Yes.
Peter Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, last two claims. We've got one for room rental incentives for the Monroe County Convention Center in the amount of $3,832. This comes out of the general fund, and this is one that this body uses, and there's a criteria which is attached to the claim, David, which shows, which we provide in order to help land and incentivize business to come to the convention center. So criterias include the number of hotel room nights, economic impact greater than 10,000. Is that a slow time of the week? Is it
Sure.
a slow time of the year? Is it using more than one hotel? And so those incentives are paid out based on the number of criteria met on some of those. So,
Okay.
so that claim is in the amount of $3,832. Personally, I always like signing this one, which means we've generated some
Revenue, right,
business and revenue.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
so I have no problem with doing incentives based on bookings, at least my own. Any questions or comments on the claim?
I move for approval.
All right, there's a motion for approval. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, a motion in a second. Marcia, would you do a roll call for us, please?
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Sean Hanlon.
Yes.
David Shaw.
Yes.
Peter Anderson.
Yes.
And the details on the group, David, are in the back.
Yep.
And then just shows you just a general.
Yeah, I understand that. Yep.
Okay, last claim before us is for the capital fund, and it is for stone patching and resurfacing on the front of the building of the visitor center in the amount of $6,030. This does fall within the capital expenditure criteria. And Mike was talking about how much we love our rocks and limestone tours, so maybe this is part of that,
Mhm.
so.
We're good stewards of the building.
Yeah.
So,
Does the building has a chief engineer, I guess, the chief engineer?
It's not that big.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Me.
You.
Yeah, or Laura, Marcia.
It's a visitor
Gotcha.
center. We actually have a great guy that we've worked with for years. That's kind of our handyman.
Right.
Who
Awesome.
knows that stuff, and he
Okay.
said, you've got a problem here, and we, of course, we brought in a real expert who fixed it for us. And-
Gotcha.
But again, we usually have an expense like this every 3 or 4 years for something, whether it's
Of course.
slowly going over the cliff or.
Yeah, we had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been there.
So, and this is a building which is now property of the county,
Okay.
so. Any questions or comments on this claim? Okay, seeing and hearing none, is there a motion to approve the claim?
I move for approval.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion in a second. Marcia, would you do a roll call for us, please?
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Tom Hanlon.
Yes.
David Shaw,
Yes, ma'am.
Peter Iverson.
Yes.
Okay, that's all the claims that I had in my pile and they've been put before us today. New business, 2023 fiscal budget for this body, based on tax collection, for the innkeeper's tax and projections on that. I did give you a general worksheet on that, and I think both Mike and Talisha have put together their budget projections or how that would expend. If that's in the packet or. You have that?
I have visit Bloomington. I don't have DVI,
Okay,
and that was not in the packet.
okay, so, good.
Marcia needs that.
So that being the case, we have worked traditionally off of a historical tax collections and expenditures and where that thinks. And so this shows what it was this year, what they're proposing for next year. I did have a chance to talk with both Mike and Talisha earlier and had talked about, I think we're at a point in tax collection, we could easily assume a 5% increase in budget allocation for both of them for their operating expenses. I do know that I think the CPI index for this upcoming year is listed at 4.7%. And so to help address costs of goods and wages for the upcoming year, we would recommend at least a 5% raise in what we're proposing to those bodies. That would put our expenditures, if we did that, to 2.843 million in expenditures just to keep even. So, which would be an anticipated surplus of $137,000. So there is still some room on top of that. That being the case, I don't know about, I think there may be another way to look at how to do this. And so much of where we are right now is in uncertain future based on the decision of other bodies. If something did change with the convention center, there's a need for marketing material and sales support that we would need to be able to provide in the short term and certainly in the long term. And so if that decision gets made, the marketing material to start talking about an expanded convention center would certainly need to be provided, and we would need to have that funds available in order to reduce those things and be able to start going to those markets. That would be in addition to what we would be currently doing. Additionally, if that didn't happen, if there was some other events like a music festival or another type of event in town, a large event we would want to promote, then having funds available in order to support something like that would make sense to me. So I would recommend a couple of things. I would recommend a 5% increase to both Visit Bloomington and to DBI. And then additionally, I would recommend doubling the commissioner's expenditure from 75,000 to 150,000 in the event that there's some movement, either in the convention center expansion or some other large event which we can come alongside and help promote and support. That commissioner spends, we've never spent $75,000. So we're not at the top level of that. We don't have to allocate it to that, but I know Mike has talked about a music festival. I know that there's some discussion ongoing about the expansion of the convention center and a way forward on that. And when and if that happens, that could be within the next 6 months. And we're talking about fiscal year 23, which is after that 6-month period. And so if that happens, I think we need to be ready to be able to support it. So it's almost, you hate to say contingency, but I think there's funds there to do an additional allocation into the commissioner's expense and give us some flexibility in order to support one or the other, or potentially both, depending on the amounts. But that would be my suggestion, rather than to allocate it, that additional $75,000 to either Visit Bloomington or the convention center directly until we know what is coming, right? But I would want to have it queued up so that we could do that in fiscal year 23 if there's something that is appropriate like that to do that with. Does that make sense, or do you agree, or are there any other comments wrapped around that?
Should the convention center be expanded in the future,
Mm-hmm.
the funds to expand the convention center do not come from the room tax revenue, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So
I don't see it on the budget here, so
no, it's
not coming from
so
this.
it's, the debt fund is in our existing debt on the land and the renovation of this.
Okay.
And how that is done moving forward, it's not been determined yet, but the food and beverage tax was specifically set aside for the expansion of the convention center.
Okay.
However, marketing the community and additional operations expenses have not been, I think those still land within this body. So if it did expand, there would certainly be a larger expenditure that would need to be done, certainly within the first 4 or 5 years of operation, as it builds to capacity, I think.
Is there a commission similar to ours that meets on the F&B?
There is.
There is. And do you participate in those meetings?
No, I do not.
Do you get to see the financial numbers at all?
I have seen, and the numbers for the food and beverage tax collections are available, I believe, on the county website.
That's right. If you go to the county council's website, co.monroe.in.us.
Right.
We're working on that domain name.
Yeah.
/council.
Okay.
You can see, we update those numbers monthly.
So you can see what that total is
Yeah, I
and
just
what
need to
they've
know
accumulated.
what you would have if you wanted to build 1 million square feet.
Well,
Or maybe
And it's not
900
gonna be
square
a
feet.
million square I mean, I think it's important
But I
to
like the way you
like
think
not spread that.
optimistically.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Look, if you want the American Bus Tour Association to visit Bloomington, you're gonna need 700,000 square feet.
well, I
And
will
this would be a
say,
great location for that kind of convention. But anyway, they'll bring millions of dollars to town.
so you are really opening a can of worms, and thank you for that, Dave. So,
Millions of dollars. They bring millions of dollars in just a couple days.
yes, so.
The restaurants
at this
won't
point-
be able to handle it.
At this
I'm just
point,
kidding.
we're looking at really
Okay.
a potential 60,000 square foot
Okay.
expansion, which would bring us to 80,000, or to 100,000 would be an upper end of that.
Okay.
And that would be a giant leap forward from what we have right now, which is the smallest in the state of Indiana for a market this size.
Right.
So, at some point, maybe in the future, we get there, but gosh, I'm just trying to get past 24,000 square feet, which, speaking from experience, the Indiana Memorial Union has twice the amount the convention center
Right,
has as
right,
far as meeting
right.
space. And so it's trying to get us to a point where we could have an association of Indiana counties or something like that would be, let's get there before we get to the bus.
I'm just
And
playing.
start trying to compete with Orlando and Vegas and things of that
I'm
nature.
just playing.
Yeah, no, you're messing with us. So that being the case for the budget, that would be a recommendation. I don't know if other people have other thoughts on that as well. And I think the numbers that you've got here from both Visit Bloomington and the convention center represent that 5% increase, because I did say that would be, what would you do with 5%? And I think that's probably, realistically, that's the low end of what we should do. Yes, sir.
Let me react by saying, I think your optimism is encouraging.
Uh-huh.
I think what we've talked about is really encouraging.
Right.
That how strong tourism is, how strong our local economy is. I think that's really great. And I think the idea that we need to be bullish on the convention center is a really good idea too.
Mhm.
That we need to be saying, well, okay, in this commissioner's expense, let's
Right.
try and have this conversation. Let's keep this conversation going at least. So I think these are positive moves. And
Okay.
I think these are conversations the community wants to have, and certainly the county council has been making public statements for the past couple of months on wanting to have this conversation.
That's great. That's great. Other thoughts or comments or suggestions?
How long has that number been at 75,000?
We've had that for about 3 or 4 years. And in that time frame, we've expended, what, 15,000, maybe 20,000 at the top. There was, when we did wayfinding, we paid for it out of commissioner's expense. That project was probably, what was it, Mike, 12 to 14 years ago or something of that
It
nature.
was here before me. I've been here
Right.
15 years. We've got our money's worth out of that project.
Right,
The city
so-
kicked in some money
Right.
for that as well.
And the other portion of it came from this body, and we did that out of commissioner's expense because that was one where we needed to do something there. We've referred back to the studies that were done on convention center growth. The one Talisha had referred to, that was funders expense. So we've used it for special projects. And when we do not expend it, so it's not if we bump that up, there's no guarantee that we would spend that. And I would, from my own perspective, I wouldn't vote to expend money out of that unless there was a need or something that would generate economic impact. But whether that's getting us and really, we have to have a decision before we would expend any more funds, I think, towards an expanded convention center out of that. Either that, or if there's some other revenue generator, and I don't want to hang everything we do on a expanded convention. If it's not, there are other things we could do to help expand tourism and the economic impact that brings with either festivals, sports. So not a lot about sports. There's other things that we can do with that I think that would help have that kind of compounding effect. But I think we need to be ready and nimble for 2023 because there's just a lot of nothing is. I have no idea how it's going to go. But I want to be ready to react to what's there. And I think we'll have a better idea of it later this year or in January.
Does Bloomington, outside of the university, have an athletic facility?
So they have parts of it. We've been punching above our weight, really, with the facilities we've had. Twin Lakes, we've long done well with softball. That's based on relationships more than the desirability of the facilities, but reinvestment in some of those type of things. Cars Farm Soccer Park. Now I'm a soccer dad and I go to Grand Park a lot, and I go to Evansville and I go to others, but rarely did they come to Bloomington.
Right, yeah, you need it.
And it has to do with the facility level. And there's opportunity there. There's opportunity for others as well too. So, and maybe there's something additional that might come with the Limestone Park or things of those nature in the future. I don't think we need to be locked into one. But I do think we need to be ready for what happens in 2023, which is the reason for the recommendation.
So the recommendation would be move that to 150 for 2023 only, and then just decide at the same time next year if we want to move that around or.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and then if there's a use that goes one way or another, then that will go to an operating budget, or maybe it's a one-time expense. I don't know.
I agree. Forward thinking.
So if this commission thought it would be valuable to our residential area to build an entire soccer complex, and I know cities who've done it and allocated hundreds of acres, and these are
Right.
top-notch facilities where the Olympic team sometimes will come to do things. Is that something that's the county, or is that something that the city of Bloomington would have to decide, this is what we want for our area?
I don't know that there's a great answer on that. There's certainly there's zoning and a lot of other things you would have to go through. But if this body decided to expend funds based on a tourism related attraction or venue,
Right.
we could do the same thing, just like we purchased land for the convention center and work with the development on that. But that would be, keep in mind, we do not have that type of funds.
No, understood.
To
I
do
just
that,
didn't know. I'm still
but
learning our
yes.
realm of responsibility.
But it would, ours is, if it is tourism related, if it generates economic impact through
Sure.
reinvestment,
Right.
that's really what the innkeeper's tax collection is designed to do, to reinvest, to continue to prime the pump
Right.
for economic development.
Right. So if we went to city X and said, show us the economic impact on your city from hotel, food and beverage revenue, because you built this soccer complex. And they say, well, we spent $5 million to, I'm just throwing out, but we have 6 or 7 tournaments that bring people from all over the country a year, and it generates
Right.
$10 million. Is that something that would be up for discussion when we meet?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
We would certainly be interested in seeing that.
Right.
And that economic impact.
Okay.
I think both the city and the county would be interested in those type of things as well too.
Yeah, I think from the county's perspective, if
Mhm.
there's an asset
Mhm.
that we could develop that's not being developed, that will have benefit for county residents,
Sure.
Mhm.
we certainly wouldn't want you to keep that to yourself.
Right, because the hometown gets the benefit too. The
Yes, it
local
does.
community does.
Yeah.
You build a nice skating rink or rinks and you have hockey tournaments. Come to Bloomington and we become a center of and I'm just picking sports. I have no invested interest in any sport. My kids are all out of college, but I know I was a parent that did all that traveling, both children travel teams, and every weekend it's a hotel someplace in the United States. The cities that build those complexes, you're in Raleigh, North Carolina, a couple times a year because they built the facility, and might be worthwhile looking at. Also depends on,
I
does
think so.
Bloomington want to grow, or does Bloomington like the way it is? And again, I'm the new kid on the block. I don't, I don't know my way around town yet at all.
Right. So I do think, and we could touch base offline, but I do think that the convention center is the single biggest potential
Sure.
economic impact generator right now.
Right. Okay.
Based on time of week, based on proximity, based on all the studies that we've shown, it is the single biggest, best opportunity for economic growth and advancement. Now, that being said, even if the single biggest thing, there are others too that generate impact, maybe not to that level or in that area, but we've got to be nimble, right? Whether that be funding a festival, funding a soccer field or hockey rink, or some kind of site, improvement, or being able to come alongside the convention center with additional support for marketing and sales. Because David, being in the industry, you got to sell in advance of that. I don't want the building to open and then start selling,
Right.
because you're 3 years behind
Absolutely.
for conventions.
Right. You want somebody to have to
We've
scream at the
got to be
contractor
able
get
to,
done.
we've got to be
Right.
able to pre-sell this
Sure.
thing
Yep.
in advance, and we've just got to be ready to do that. So if that's the case, then the recommendation for the budget would be 5%, I think, and then moving the commissioner's expenditures from 75,000 to 150,000. It's a little bit of a punt it down the road to see what happens, but I want to be able to, for this body to be able to do that. And I do think the funds are there that we could do that and fund it with what is probably not an optimistic, but probably a realistic and even potentially conservative view of what tax collections would be in 2023. So that being the case, I bring this forward as a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
With a motion in a second, do we want to do a roll call vote to approve the
5%
budget?
budget.
5% increase to TBI and Visit Bloomington.
I can call a point of order just real quick.
Sure.
In the past, when you've made budget recommendations that eventually go to the council, has the council liaison abstained or voted on those issues?
Voted on them in this body.
Okay.
It is not binding for you in the county council.
Sure, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I was conserving precedent.
So they have typically voted to either approve or talk through their own recommendation.
Thank you.
leaving the same amount for fees, capital improvement, and the debt as in the previous. So no increase in any of those three. So
Ready for roll call?
ready for roll call?
Mike Campbell,
Yes.
Sean Hanlon,
Yes.
David Shaw,
Yes.
Peter Iverson.
Yes.
Fiscal year budget from this body is approved. That does go to county council for final approval. So. Any other new business?
In the meeting minutes, and maybe I should have looked up earlier, it was discussed that there was going to be a meeting and that meetings were going to resume, and there was a gentleman's name, and his name is Eric Spoonmore.
Yes.
They were gonna resume with the chamber president, or he is the chamber president.
Is the chamber president.
Okay. How did those conversations go? Did they take place? Are they resuming?
Yes, so there have been some conversations with the Chamber of Commerce wrapped around the convention center. And I know he has had conversations with both the mayor's office and with members of the county council and also with the commissioner's office as well too. The Chamber of Commerce is a supporter of convention center expansion. So as far as meetings go, I think he's had several. I don't have an update as to where he is in the process of some of those things. But yes, I do think that there's some progress being made. Although I'm not 100% sure, which is one reason why it's in the commissioner's expense rather than in another line item with another bond. Right? So, anything else? Any other new business? I have one, just a note that I watched the TV show Holy Moly, which is extreme mini golf, and one of our own Bloomington, Indiana residents won the Holy Moly weekly competition and has moved on to the final. His name is Tyler Quarry, and you should put that in the notes.
Tyler Perry.
Carey, yeah. So
Peter needs to know if he lives on the east side.
I don't know if he's, I don't know whose constituent he is, but I saw the Bloomington, Indiana. Last night in the recording, I was watching it with my daughter and we were both rooting for the Bloomington, and sure enough, he won the week.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah,
That's fun.
that's a new business item. Any old business? About the same. Okay, any public comments? Okay. In that case, meeting adjourned. All right.